Just a few moments ago, I, along with Ancient Ape and Wolverine, fought against the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles. Eventually, with our joint efforts, I split the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles into two with my burst breath, and I fell due to overexertion. As everyone rushed over worried to check on my injuries, a second later a blade aura swiftly attacked us. Wolverine sensed the danger and shouted hurriedly, "Watch out!" But the corrosive blade aura still struck his body. Ancient Ape and Deathlark rushed to support him. At that moment, laughter from the Dead Rotten Reptile King came from behind. His body, which I had cut open, was slowly merging back together. Seeing this eerie scene, everyone is in shock. Ancient Ape exclaims, "How could he come back to life?" Deathlark then used the Death Hurricane against the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles, but he easily blocked it with his wings and deflected the hurricane back at her. Deathlark couldn't dodge in time and was hit by her own skill. With a bang she crashed to the ground and was unable to get up for a moment. Worried, Ancient Ape shouted, "Bird sister." Then she roared and charged at the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles. "You bad rotten reptile king. Go to hell. Die." Seeing this, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles, with disdain, "Stupid girl, go join your dead parents." With that, he swung his wings to attack Ancient Ape. Ancient Ape spun on the spot, deflecting the wing attack, then quickly rushed in front of the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles, grabbed his chin, and roared, "The one going down is you." After saying that, she stamped her feet, steadied her stance, and roared upwards, beginning to exert force. In an instant, her muscles rapidly expanded and her veins bulged. The King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles' face was slowly lifted. At that moment, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles felt a sense of dread. The next second, just as Ancient Ape lifted the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles' face from the ground, his newly fused wound burst open with blood again. Baze was shocked upon seeing this. The cut on his face is bursting open again. At that moment, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles, controlling his tail, swung his blade at Ancient Ape. "Stupid girl, since you wish to die, I'll grant your wish." Unable to dodge, Ancient Ape was struck and fell backward, landing in front of Baze. Baze rushed forward to heal her, but the corrosive power on the blade instantly rendered Ancient Ape unconscious. As Baze was treating Ancient Ape, he thought, just now, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptile's face split open as soon as it was lifted from the ground and began healing again once it touched the ground. Could it be because of the soil and wasteland? The wasteland could cure the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles and provide him with energy non-stop. Is that the reason why he's tireless? At that time, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles, whose wounds were healing again, looked at Baze and slowly said, "Over these 1,000 years, you must have also obtained a lot of life essence, but you still cannot oppose me, who absorbs energy from the secret realm. None of your three little friends will live after being hit by my erosion blade. You've been opposing my poison this whole time, which must have drained you greatly. Now, you cannot save them. Rather than that, why not share your life essence with my children?" With that, he commanded his multitude of dead rotten reptiles to devour us. Just when I thought my life was about to end this way, suddenly, large chunks of stone began to fall from the cave ceiling. The King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles was startled as the stones falling precisely hit the approaching dead rotten reptile swarm. As a beam of light shot into the cave, the howling of wolves came from the ground. It turned out that little Tangerine and the others had timely broken through the ground and jumped down into the cave. Seeing them, my heart suddenly rejoiced. The monsters on the island. Little Tangerine did it. Little Tangerine had succeeded. With the arrival of a large number of monsters in the cave, the dead rotten reptiles dared not advance further. At that moment, Little Tangerine shouted, "Brothers and sisters, it's the dead rotten reptiles. Kill them." As his words fell, the white wolf charged out in the lead, casually knocking a dead rotten reptile aside. Under the onslaught of the monster horde, the dead rotten reptiles quickly fell back. Seeing this scene, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles roared angrily, "Damn crickets, I'll make sure you'll never see the rise of the sun again." At the same time, Baze also roared. In front of him, for golden orbs suddenly appeared, which he then thrust into our bodies. The next second, Ancient Ape, Wolverine, Deathlark, and I were all fully revived. Shocked, I thought Baze actually shared his life essence with us. At that time, Baze's body began to glow and gradually shrank. After a burst of dazzling light, he transformed back into his original form as by Sidong. "No more pretending. I am the Beast Lord Baze. Having given all my life essence to you, I can only appear in this form which consumes the least energy." Upon learning the truth, we all stared at her, dumbfounded. She pointed at the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles and said, "Little ones, it's time to counterattack. The King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles must be drawing energy from the soil beneath his feet. If we can find a way to prevent him from touching the ground, we can surely defeat him." At the same time, the monsters collectively attacked the dead rotten reptiles, quickly inflicting heavy losses on the dead rotten reptile army. Seeing this, the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles became extremely angry and roared, "Damn crickets, go to hell." With that, he opened his mouth and spewed several venom breath toward the beast horde. The mountain giant ox was unable to dodge and was hit, its life essence rapidly extracted and its body quickly withering. At that moment, a venom breath shot toward White Wolf and Little Tangerine. Just as they were about to be drained of their life essence like the mountain giant ox, I quickly stepped in front of them. Worried, Little Tangerine shouted, "Dragon brother, be careful." I stepped in front of them him and blocked the venom breath with my body. Strangely, I did not shrink like the last time. Thank goodness. It seems that Lord Base's life essence now allows me to withstand the venom breath. Little Tangerine, you did it. You accomplished what others thought was impossible. You created a miracle. In the eyes of the king of the dead rotten reptiles, we were indeed very weak, but we, the weak ones, dared to challenge his authority and created a miracle. At this time, the usually proud Deathlark was the first to attack the king of the dead rotten reptiles. But not only did the king of the dead rotten reptiles block her attack, he also knocked her away with a swing of his wing. Seeing their leader hit, the Dimorphodon pterosaurs rushed to help. At this moment, they completely disregarded their own lives, and even if the king of the dead rotten reptiles slew a batch, another batch would take their place. At this time, all the animals had one common goal: to bite the king of the dead rotten reptiles to death, to completely eradicate the damned king of the dead rotten reptiles and restore the former vitality of Abyss Island. Seeing all this, Wolverine was shocked. Are these the same monsters from Abyss Island? For the sake of Abyss Island, they are all fighting fearlessly and recklessly. This is all because of Lin Shen. However, beneath his monster's exterior, there clearly lies a weak human soul. At this moment, Wolverine recalled what his master had once said to him: the strongest swordsmen are not just those with superior skills and great strength. While these factors are crucial for becoming an outstanding swordsman, truly strong swordsmen possess courage in their hearts and a selfless spirit of dedication. Those swordsmen who selflessly wield their swords for others are the strongest. At this moment, Wolverine finally understood the true meaning of his master's words. The next second, he charged forward without hesitation. From today, my blade will only be used to protect Abyss Island. He leaped high, unleashing his strongest skill, Gold Slash. With a clang, the Gold Slash struck the king of the dead rotten reptiles. However, his strike did no damage to the king of the dead rotten reptiles at all. At this point, the king of the dead rotten reptiles taunted, Wolverine, your sword is useless against me. Just save your energy. The king of the dead rotten reptiles said coldly. However, Wolverine did not give up. He firmly said, if one sword doesn't work, then two. If two don't work, then three. Having said that, he swung the Gold Slash at the king of the dead rotten reptiles again. He knew that only by continuing to fight could he possibly find the weakness of the king of the dead rotten reptiles. After a period of intense sword swinging, blood seeped from the corners of Wolverine's mouth. Just then, a crisp crack sound came from the handle, and then Wolverine's body began to float. Following that, the blade emitted a burst of golden light, and a force of spirit emerged from the sword. In the blink of an eye, a figure appeared before him. Little wolf, we meet again. I had Lord Base seal half of my life essence in your blade, only to be unlocked once you grasped the true essence of a swordsman and gained my power. It seems you have succeeded. Seeing his master again, Wolverine's eyes were already moist. Just as he was about to say something, his master's life essence gradually merged into his body. I've never left you. I've always been by your side. Use your sword to cleave through all obstacles. As Wolverine landed, the king of the dead rotten reptiles sensed a dangerous aura emanating from him. The next second, Wolverine, now empowered, charged at the king of the dead rotten reptiles with his sword. Behind him, a massive human silhouette hovered. The sword light flashed, and the king of the dead rotten reptiles' wings were instantly severed. Wolverine gasped heavily. I finally cut off his wings. However, his body then began to tremble, and he slipped and fell to the ground, clearly exhausted by the move. But at that moment, the severed wings of the king of the dead rotten reptiles began to emit a sizzling noise. Seeing this, Ancient Ape was shocked. Oh no, his wings are regenerating. She grabbed the king of the dead rotten reptiles' face and roared, I won't let your wings regenerate. With a roar, Ancient Ape actually lifted the king of the dead rotten reptiles' massive body off the ground. The king of the dead rotten reptiles had never expected Ancient Ape to be so formidable. The king of the dead rotten reptiles quickly stabbed his tail with a large sword into the ground, preventing Ancient Ape from fully lifting him for a moment. At that moment, I used the dragon scale wheel and charged at the tail holding the large sword. Let go of it now. With a swish, I cleanly severed the tail of the king of the dead rotten reptiles. Following the king of the dead rotten reptiles' scream of agony, with nowhere to leverage, he was finally lifted by Ancient Ape. I shouted to Ancient Ape, Ape sister, use the shot put technique I taught you to fling him away. Hearing this, Ancient Ape roared again and exerted more strength. She quickly adjusted her body angle and started spinning, forcefully swinging the massive body of the king of the dead rotten reptiles. Simultaneously, I activated the rage mode of the Thunder Rage, aiming to deliver a fatal blow to the king of the dead rotten reptiles. As I powered up, my eyes turned redder, my body sparked with electricity, and my dorsal fins became erect. At this time, Ancient Ape was also ready. Under her rapid spinning, even after images of the king of the dead rotten reptiles' body appeared, the next second, she suddenly let go, flinging the king of the dead rotten reptiles high into the air. At the same time, I unleashed the Thunder Rage version of the Burst Breath. With a boom, the king of the dead rotten reptiles' body was instantly shattered by the burst breath. Everything but his head turned into minced meat, beginning to fall downwards. At this moment, feeling weak from my full strength blow, I sat on the ground and muttered, this bastard is shattered like this. I'd like to see how you regenerate now. Seeing this, the monsters around us immediately cheered, some hugging hugging each other, expressing their joy at the moment. Ancient Ape was overjoyed to tears. Mom, Dad, did you see that? I've finally avenged you. But just then, Bai Sidong pointed at the king of the dead rotten reptiles' corpse and shouted, "No, everyone, he's not dead yet. He's going to resurrect." At this time, the king of the dead rotten reptiles' minced meat began to wriggle and even sprouted tentacles, starting to regenerate. Seeing this, Bai Sidong spoke again. "Everyone, quickly pick up the king of the dead rotten reptiles' minced meat. Don't let it touch the ground." But just as her words fell, to her surprise, the previously barren dead ash ground suddenly sprouted a large expanse of grass, which quickly spread towards the king of the dead rotten reptiles' corpse. The minced meat that touched the grass instantly lost its vitality and turned gray. Looking at the grass under my feet, I said, puzzled, "The dead ash ground has actually regained its vitality?" Defeating the venom did indeed help restore the environment, but this is an underground cave. Even without the influence of the dead rotten reptiles, it shouldn't be lush with grass. As I turned around, I saw a familiar figure behind the horde. Isn't that the cannibal tree? How did its roots come here following the horde? At this moment, the cannibal tree was touching the ground with both hands, releasing green energy. It turns out, this grass was created by the cannibal tree. Moments later, the entire cave was covered with grass. The king of the dead rotten reptiles could no longer touch the ground and was completely dead. The cannibal tree, gasping heavily, sat down and laughed. "I'm exhausted. Hope he's dead through and through this time." With one hand on my hip, happily greeted the cannibal tree. "Thank you, brother tree. I didn't expect you to come too." The cannibal tree laughed in response. Of course, this tree is also a part of Abyss Island. Then, I went over to the corpse of the king of the dead rotten reptiles, ready to devour him to see if I could acquire any powerful abilities. But when I saw that human face, I suddenly felt nauseous and lost my appetite. At this moment, I really felt somewhat unwilling. After all this effort, it seemed I gained nothing. Just then, Bai Sidong's voice came through. "What's wrong? Aren't you going to eat him and gain his abilities?" Bai Sidong jumped onto that human face and continued, "Is it because of this ugly human face? It seems deep down you still refuse to devour humans or anything that looks human. Although you are a monster, you possess qualities of self-sacrifice that monsters do not have, and you stick to your principles and nature. I admire you." After saying this, she stretched out her palm towards the corpse of the king of the dead rotten reptiles, and in an instant, golden energy began to flow from the king of the dead rotten reptiles, gathering into a large orb of light in front of Bai Sidong. "You saved Abyss Island. As the Beast Lord, I will not let your efforts be in vain. The remaining life essence of the king of the dead rotten reptiles will be your reward." With that, she injected the life essence of the king of the dead rotten reptiles into my body, and instantly, the energy I had expended was rapidly replenished. Just then, the long-missing little Kuin appeared again. "You have successfully devoured the life essence of the king of the dead rotten reptiles and gained 10 million evolution points." Hearing this news, I immediately gave little Kuin a thumbs up. "Damn, little Kuin, you're awesome. 10 million evolution points. I'm going to use up all the evolution points at once." As the evolution points were spent, I underwent another evolution. My thighs, chest, and shoulders all evolved armor. "Damn, I look so cool." Little Kuin, quick, check. Besides the evolution points, did any amazing new skills drop? Little Kuin, after manipulating the panel, said, "Congratulations, you've actually dropped a S-rank skill." After checking the panel, little Kuin sent a system prompt. "Congratulations on your first devouring of the king of the dead rotten reptiles life essence. Gaining an S-rank skill, Dragon's 9 Sons. You can release 9 wraiths that look exactly like you. Usable once a day, targeting enemies for attack." Hearing this skill, my face fell. "Little Kuin, are you messing with me again? Are you asking me to spit out my soul? Can't you give a normal skill?" Little Kuin responded, "What do you know? This skill is super powerful. It's like having 9 clones. Plus, they are capable of infrared scanning, smart targeting, heat tracking, and more. Very useful." Before it could finish, I interrupted, "Forget it. Whatever. I get it. This system is completely a joke." Just then, I turned and saw several hyenas approaching the corpse of the king of the dead rotten reptiles, apparently planning a snack. I quickly went up to stop them. "You guys, you saw how poisonous the dead rotten reptile was just now. Do you want to die by eating his meat?" Hearing this, the hyenas immediately ran off. I turned to Ancient Ape and the others and said, "Now, while we have more people, let's quickly search for those escaped dead rotten reptiles. There are many of them. If left unchecked, they are definitely a threat." Bai Sidong agreed. "Yes, once and for all. Mr. Wolverine and Deathlark, you go in one group with your clansmen. Ancient Ape and I will be in one group while Lin Shen and other monsters in another." Ancient Ape and the others answered in unison. "Understood, Lord Base." However, after our search, we didn't find a single trace of the dead rotten reptiles, only a lot of green viscous liquid on the ground. At that time, Bai Sidong, staring at the liquid on the ground, said, "If I'm not mistaken, this green liquid is the dead rotten reptile we are looking for." "This is the dead rotten reptile?" I exclaimed. "For many years, monsters have repeatedly tried to eradicate the dead rotten reptiles, but their numbers have only increased. I suspect that these dead rotten reptiles and their leaders are all created from the blood of the king of the dead rotten reptiles. So, after the king of the dead rotten reptiles was killed, these little crawlers all turned into liquid and disappeared. appeared. Hearing this, Ancient Ape and I suddenly realized, that's great news. That saves us a lot of effort. Just then, White Wolf, carrying Little Tangerine, ran over as Wolverine had found his master's remains and had Little Tangerine come to notify us. Quickly, led by Little Tangerine, we arrived at a cave. It was filled with various weapons, as well as gold and jewels. Damn, did the king of the dead rotten reptiles think he was some kind of dragon? Where did he get all these jewels from? There's even a crown. Did he kill a king or something? I wondered. At that time, Bai Sidong explained, these jewels were probably brought by human psychics. Over 2,000 years ago, they frequently teamed up to enter the island to slay monsters until they disturbed that supreme being. He not only killed all the humans who came to the island, but also set up barriers around Abyss Island, which finally brought peace. At that moment, Wolverine, looking at his master's remains, deeply blamed himself. I'm sorry, master. It's my incompetence. I couldn't even protect your remains. I will never let such a thing happen again. At that moment, I asked Wolverine puzzledly, why would the king of the dead rotten reptiles keep your master's remains here? Wolverine clenched his teeth and said, that despicable guy must have wanted to continue using my master's remains to threaten me. Just then, as if sensing something, Ancient Ape walked towards the pile of jewels. Suddenly, a golden bracelet appeared under her feet. Ancient Ape immediately became excited, for it was the strength wristband her father had worn. Wearing it could amplify the power of her punches. The moment Ancient Ape put on the strength wristband, her father's figure appeared. My girl, you did it. You found the strength wristband, which means you have defeated the king of the dead rotten reptiles. Your mom and I are proud of you. I infused the last of my life essence into this wristband, waiting for this day. He then infused the life essence into Ancient Ape's body. This is mom and dad's final blessing for you. Receive our life force. Continue to grow stronger, because you have a long road ahead. After speaking, Ancient Ape's father's figure completely disappeared. At that moment, Ancient Ape shed tears, mixed with both sorrow and joy, for she had finally fulfilled her wish to see her father again. Just then, Bai Sidong, standing on a high spot, spoke loudly to the monsters. It was Lin Shin who led us to kill the king of the dead rotten reptiles. I propose, except for Wolverine's weapons, all other items here are Lin Shin's. Does anyone object? Hearing this, all the monsters agreed. After all, these items weren't edible and were of no use to them. At that time, Deathlark jokingly said, it seems only Lin Shin, that dummy, would like these fancy trash. Bai Sidong spoke again. I have long guarded at Sage's Snow Mountain. I usually don't concern myself with the affairs of Abyss Island, but Abyss Island needs a leader who can mobilize all its forces in times of danger. So I nominate Lin Shin as the king of Abyss Island. Does anyone have any objections? Hearing this, all the monsters raised their hands to indicate no objections. Ancient Ape excitedly said, with Dragon Brother's strength, he's definitely the boss of the island. Deathlark also raised her wings and added, I agree. Let's give this youngster the benefit. As they all shouted, long live the king, I walked towards the pile of jewels, musing, there once was a diligent king on Abyss Island. He decided to confront the king of the dead rotten reptiles to restore vitality to the island and sacrificed his precious life for it. His only descendant inherited her parents' will and grew up and fought alone in solitude. It was her fearless bravery that created the valuable opportunity for me to kill the king of the dead rotten reptiles, and she is none other than Ape's sister. She truly deserves to be the queen of Abyss Island. My words completely baffled Ancient Ape. I'm not. Dragon Brother, whether it's strength or brains, you are the rightful king of Abyss Island. At this, I blushed and said loudly, I'm supposed to be the king of monsters. Abyss Island's temple is too small to fit this deity. Hearing this, Bai Sidong, Ancient Ape, Deathlark, and Wolverine all rolled their eyes as if they were about to throw up last night's dinner. Then, Bai Sidong spoke, Ape's sister truly deserves it. Alright, I agree with Lin Shin's words. I nominate Ape's sister as the queen of Abyss Island. Do you agree? Hearing this, the monsters on the island all raised their hands in agreement. I handed the crown to Ancient Ape, saying, life should have a sense of ceremony, and since it's a coronation, how could we go without a crown? Ape's sister, quickly put this on. Ancient Ape measured the crown with her hand and said awkwardly, how am I supposed to wear such a small crown? Hearing this, I was instantly facepalmed. Silly girl, can't you transform into human form? You're such a blockhead. Realizing this, Ancient Ape immediately understood. Dragon Brother is smart. How come I didn't think of that? During our conversation, Ancient Ape and I transformed back into human form, and she smoothly placed the crown on her head. Wolverine, seeing us do this, was baffled. What are they doing? Why did they transform into human form? Deathlark explained on the side, it's just the humans and their complicated ways, so troublesome. Meanwhile, the other monsters were also confused. Why do the two kings want to appear in this form? They look so weak. At this moment, a giant smiled and explained, this is a hunting tactic of the kings. Appearing weak attracts monsters to attack them. Last year, two of my cousins fell for it and tried to sneak attack the Queen Ancient Ape, only to be directly turned into side dishes by the Thunder Dragon. Hearing this, another giant smiled and exclaimed that the method was good, even considering trying to transform into human form himself, to attract prey to come directly to us, so we don't have to hunt laboriously. Then, the giant smiled and suggested to him, if you also want to transform into this form, I can tell you a good way. Go to the Deathlark's place. There is a fruit there that, once eaten eaten will make you look like this. Hearing this, its face immediately lit up, his eyes full of stars. At this moment, a Tapejara couldn't stand it anymore and scolded, "Don't listen to him. If you eat that fruit from the Deathlark, you'll just end up being eaten by the Deathlark." Just then, Little Tangerine shouted loudly, "Shut up, all of you." One look from White Wolf instantly froze them in place. At this moment, Ancient Ape's voice rang out, "Thank you, everyone. I will definitely guard our Abyss Island well." She let out a roar. Seeing this, the monsters below roared back in response to Ancient Ape. Just then, a bear stood out, expressing dissent. "You just lifted the king of the dead rotten reptiles. I could have done that too." It was clearly Dragon Lord who killed the king of the dead rotten reptiles. "Why should you be the queen? Do not accept this." Seeing this, I was secretly delighted. A monster coronation ceremony getting crashed. Now this will be interesting. Sure enough, hearing this, Ancient Ape immediately got angry, rolled up her sleeves and challenged Bear. "What are you trying to do?" Bear pushed aside a nearby monster and shouted loudly, "I don't accept it. So, I want to challenge you to a duel." "Fine, I accept your challenge." Saying that, Ancient Ape transformed back into her monster form and charged towards Bear. Instantly, the two massive monsters began to fight. Seeing this, I Sidon was speechless. A perfectly good coronation ceremony was ruined by Bear, and I was laughing on the side. "No worries. If you don't agree, just fight it out. That's the monster way." After some time fighting, Bear was beaten to a pulp by Ancient Ape. "Great Ape Queen, I was wrong. Please spare me." Ancient Ape roared skywards. "Anyone else disagree? Welcome to challenge me." After the battle, Ancient Ape established her authority. All the monsters knelt before her, shouting loudly, "Long live the Great Ape Queen. We submit. Long live the Queen." Then, Sidon spoke again. All right, the fighting's over. Let these monsters go back first. This cave is deep. Some monsters might not be able to get out. Have your pterosaurs help take them up." Hearing this, Deathlark respectfully bowed and responded, "Yes, Lord Baze." Baze transformed back into monster form and said to us, "Let's go check out the king of the dead rotten reptiles' corroded great sword." "Wolverine, you love cold weapons. Aren't you interested in that sword?" Wolverine replied, "That sword has been soaked in the king of the dead rotten reptile's body for a long time, filled with corrosive poison, probably not suitable for me." Baze laughed. "What if I could purify the corrosive poison from the sword?" Hearing this, Wolverine was overjoyed. "Really, Lord Baze? Thank you so much." Following that, Baze used his purifying power to begin cleansing the great sword of its corrosive poison. As the purification was completed, the originally grayish-brown blade turned a vivid blood red. Wolverine casually swung the sword, and a bloody sword shadow flew out. Seeing this, he couldn't help but praise, "Great sword, truly a fine blade." At that moment, Baze explained, "This sword is called Blood Blade, left behind by a human psychic 1,000 years ago. Its original owner used it to kill many people, filling it with a murderous aura, making it very suitable for you." Hearing this, Wolverine repeatedly thanked Baze, and I too was happy for him, having never seen Mr. Wolverine so delighted. He's a huge fan of cold weapons. Deathlark teased, "I think he's just a fool who knows nothing but weapons." Just then, Deathlark's peak suddenly exploded, shaking the entire Abyss Island. The Tapejara's dragging monsters upwards almost got hit by falling rocks, and the ground of the cave we were in also cracked. At that moment, unaware of the truth, we were shocked. What's going on? Could it be the father of the king of the dead rotten reptiles has come? The ground cracked and the mountains shook. As we were trying to understand what had happened, a Tapejara flew towards us, shouting, "Bad news, bad news." The next second, it knelt before Deathlark, frantically saying, "It's bad. The Deathlark peak has collapsed." Hearing this, both Deathlark and I were shocked. "How could Deathlark peak collapse? Explain clearly what exactly happened." The Tapejara said in a panic. A black cylinder hit Deathlark peak, followed by flames and an explosion. The Deathlark peak collapsed. The ground also collapsed. Many of our people, many died. Seeing that this guy couldn't explain clearly, I turned to Deathlark and said, "We better go out and see for ourselves." Deathlark immediately nodded in agreement. Following that, with the help of Deathlark and other clansmen, we flew out of the cave, speeding towards Deathlark Peak. Meanwhile, at Deathlark Peak, the entire peak had vanished, leaving only a huge crater with large amounts of seawater pouring into it. Just then, two figures appeared at the edge of the crater. An old man holding a wine gourd took a big sip. "Oh boy, haven't had a drink in months, nearly died of thirst." The young man looked at the huge crater and cursed. "Those guys from North Ploania, just because they saw a huge group of pterosaurs, they decided to bomb this part of the island. Absolute bastards." Hearing this, the old man also cursed, "That bastard from the Lester family. I really wanted to give him a punch." Seeing this, the young man teased, "Have you grown to like this island after staying here for so long?" The old man looked towards the beautiful Abyss Island and sighed. "You're right. Actually, the monsters here are quite easy to get along with, and I've met a group of interesting monsters. If they hadn't killed the king of the dead rotten reptiles, you'd still be facing the great waves on the sea." The young man looked at the old man and said, "Thank you for the hard work in the last few months. The waters out there are full of currents and storms, and there's a mysterious energy that causes electronics to malfunction. Only a plant-based psychic like you could get in here. But what I don't understand is, why is the mysterious force here related to the king of the dead rotten reptiles?" Hearing this, the old man casually said, "Why think so much? Once we enter enter the secret realm, everything will become clear. Hearing secret realm, the young man's expression turned serious. I came as soon as I received your signal. We have to enter the realm before the people on the ship find out. Those guys are many, and they could do anything. I don't want to cause unnecessary trouble. Hearing this, the old man scoffed with a smile. Don't worry, they are only small clans. I doubt they could cause any trouble. Even Nethersin Palace wouldn't dare to offend us. We are the Heaven Force from Cathay. While they were talking, under the lead of the Deathlark, we arrived at the scene. Looking at the crater that was once Deathlark Peak, Deathlark, and I couldn't believe our eyes. Even my burst breath couldn't sink the entire island. What kind of power could have caused this? Just then, I remembered the black cylinder the Tapajara mentioned, and a shock went through my heart. Could it be a missile? Only human missiles could have such terrifying destructive power, but even a missile couldn't create such a clean cut. While I was pondering, Ancient Ape pointed below and shouted, "Look over there. It seems like two human beings." Seeing the two figures below, I couldn't immediately tell if they were humans or monsters that had consumed transformation fruit. I quickly called out to Little Quinn to see if it could scan their identities. Soon, Little Quinn reported back with their information. The young man's name is Zhou, a psychic human. The old man beside him is called Mu Zhen, a plant-type human psychic. Also, I sense a familiar aura from the old man, Little Quinn explained. Just as I was astonished that humans could come to Abyss Island, Deathlark suddenly dived down with acceleration. At the same time, they noticed us. With a loud crash, my massive body landed heavily on the ground, shaking the earth and kicking up dust. The young man looked up, frozen in fear at the sight of us. There are such huge monsters, and they can even use pterosaurs to fly. At that moment, I bent down and asked sternly, "Was the explosion done by you?" Hearing this, the young man was shocked. This giant dragon can speak human language, and the beasts behind it are equipped. What kind of monsters are these? Deathlark couldn't hold back any longer. Why are you wasting words with them? They destroyed my mountain. They must die. She turned to the old man and the young man, and in the next second, she quickly flapped her wings and attacked the young man. The young man dodged effortlessly, jumping sideways to avoid Deathlark's strike. That bird can actually use wind-type powers? Interesting. With that, Zhou began to use his psychic abilities to control a dagger and counterattack Deathlark. Seeing this, I was shocked. Is this the strength of human psychics? They can calmly deal with monsters of our level and even use psychic power to manipulate weapons. That's impressive. As tensions escalated, the old man hurriedly shouted, "Why are you fighting after just one sentence? Stop, stop. We're all on the same side." Same side? Just then, Wolverine approached him with the great sword in his mouth, sneering, "Who here is on the same side with you?" Seeing this scene, Mr. Mu was startled, thinking this is a big misunderstanding. However, Wolverine didn't believe him at all and quickly swung his sword at Mr. Mu. He narrowly dodged the attack and shouted again, "Giant wolf, don't hit me. I told you they're one of us." Meanwhile, Zhou, who had dodged Deathlark's attack, was also shocked. This giant wolf may be holding a sword in its mouth, but its strength is not to be underestimated. Each slash was skillfully executed, making him look like a master swordsman, and that giant dragon always staring at me felt completely human. Could it be that the monsters on this island have developed human-like intelligence? Thinking this, he couldn't help but chuckle. Even if they have some intelligence, they are still monsters. How can they be compared to humans with technological civilization and powerful abilities? With that thought, he decisively unleashed his ultimate technique, Lightning Wind. In an instant, his blade transformed into countless shadows, launching an assault on Deathlark. The sheer number of blade shadows made it impossible for her to dodge, and she didn't expect a seemingly weak human to be so troublesome. At that moment, I dashed in front of Deathlark, instantly covered in numerous blood holes. Deathlark looked at me with concern. "Ugly dragon, are you okay?" To avoid worrying her, I joked, "I just pity your feathers. If they get cut off anymore, you'll have no more feathers to lose." Hearing this, Deathlark angrily replied, "Shut up. I'm never short of feathers. I have loads." Watching our playful banter, Zhou was shocked. Using your body to shield a comrade from harm? Can a monster really do that? While he was pondering, I shouted and charged at him. "Only jerks would bully girls. I will teach you a lesson." Upon hearing this, Zhou became serious, secretly thinking, "Damn, I didn't expect that bird to be female." I used a sweeping tail attack to knock Zhou into the air, then charged at him with Dragon Kill. This giant dragon is intentionally trying to get me to jump. What a clever monster. In the next second, with no way to dodge, he was heavily struck, spitting out blood and flying backward. However, Zhou was not one to back down, arrogantly saying, "Don't think this means I can't deal with you. Wind strings." With a thought, his blade shot towards me at high speed. The next second, I shot out 3 explosive bombs, knocking the blade away while sending the other 2 hurtling towards Zhou. As he saw the 2 projectiles was past him, he mocked, "Ugly dragon, your aim is terrible." However, Mr. Mu shouted, "Young master, be careful." But his warning came too late. I gave Zhou a disdainful smile, then snapped my fingers, and with a deafening boom, he was instantly engulfed in an explosion. Seeing this, Mr. Mu worriedly shouted, "Young master, are you okay?" He rushed towards Zhou while yelling at me, "Ugly dragon, stop. I'm the cannibal tree. I helped you against the king of the dead rotten reptiles." At that moment, Wolverine suddenly appeared behind Mr. Mu, sneering, "Cunning human, you don't look much like a tree. Look out for my blade. Seeing this, Mr. Mu immediately became cautious and hurriedly used his plant-based powers. In the next second, he conjured 2 large plant hands to block Wolverine's sword, perfectly executing a barehanded catch. Seeing this, Ancient Ape and Deathlark all dropped our jaws. Are you really the cannibal tree? How come you're a human? Mr. Mu, flustered and angry, shouted, of course I'm human. I'm just a plant-based psychic, so I can control plants and can also transform into one myself. At this point, Mr. Mu was feeling overwhelmed and muttered to himself, who are you to criticize me for being a human? Hearing him say this, I thought, no doubt, he's definitely that cannibal tree. I looked at Mr. Mu seriously and asked, did you bring this human here? Is this destruction also because of you? Joji spoke up at this point. What happened here has nothing to do with us. I'm not the only human who landed on this island. There are other, more brutal forces involved. I looked at him coldly. Do you think I would believe what you say? To which the young man scoffed. Given your monstrous stupidity, it's normal for you not to believe. However, if you keep wasting time with us, more parts of this island will be destroyed. Mr. Mu then spoke again. We are not your enemies. On the sea 60 kilometers from here, there's a warship loaded with human psychics, and it was their gravity bomb that sunk this place. I was shocked. Gravity bomb? There's such a weapon? Mr. Mu explained. Gravity missiles are bombs created using the abilities of gravity-based psychics. After detonation, they create a massive gravity field that flattens everything within its range. I was surprised. I had no idea that, in addition to monsters and psychics, technology had also advanced to this level in the world. Meanwhile, on another part of Abyss Island, White Wolf's head was shattered by a punch. As his body fell, he found that many monsters had already fallen. At that moment, a blonde young man looked down at the corpses, his face full of disdain. Such fragile monsters, they're huge for nothing. Just then, a large group of monsters arrived. Seeing this, the blonde young man pulled out a flare gun, dismissively saying, how long will I have to kill all these monsters? Might as well give you a taste of a gravity bomb. After saying this, he pulled the trigger, and his companions started laughing heartily. The next second, the flare soared into the air above Abyss Island and exploded. As a red flare rocketed into the sky a kilometer above Abyss Island, the warship at sea soon received the coordinates. At that moment, a soldier approached a man to report, Mr. Lester, Mr. Orvis has sent new attack coordinates. Shall we strike? Mr. Lester did not hesitate. Strike. We've been in these waters for over a month looking for ways to land on this island, and Orvis must be eager to show his abilities. Let him have fun. Following that, he turned to a man in black nearby and said, the lords of the Nethersin place shouldn't have any objections. The mysterious man in black slowly spoke, of course not. This warship is commissioned by the Lester family. The Nethersin palace will not interfere with Master Orvis's pleasure. Soon after, a missile was launched from the warship, speeding directly toward Abyss Island, aimed precisely at the location marked by the red signal. At that moment, Bai Sidon, who was in the air, spotted the missile first and urgently shouted to me, Thunder Dragon, something is flying this way. Hearing this, I quickly had Deathlark take me up into the air. When I clearly saw that it was a missile coming toward us, I was shocked. Deathlark, hold steady. I'll take down this missile. I quickly began to gather energy. In the next second, I unleashed a burst breath toward the incoming missile. With a boom, the missile was hit by my burst breath and instantly disintegrated. At that moment, the crew monitoring the missile panicked reported, Commander, a beam of light from Abyss Island has destroyed the gravity missile. We're unable to trace the source of the beam. The destructive level of the beam is assessed as S-grade. Mr. Lester, hearing this, was shocked. Destructive power of S-grade? Could there be an S-grade light-based psychic on the island? Send Orvis and his team to investigate. Meanwhile, Orvis and the others on the island were also drawn by the explosion. Orvis frowned and said, what was that blue light just now? It easily destroyed a gravity bomb. A bald man with a serious expression said, I didn't expect there to be other S-grade psychics on the island, and it seems to be a rare light-based ability. Orvis, uncertainly, said, could it be that boy from Cafe causing trouble? At that moment, a man with a beard shook his head. That boy from Cafe is not a light-based psychic, and he should still be on the warship. I just received an order from Lord Lester. He wants us to go check out the area where the beam was fired. Afterward, they turned, their faces sporting mischievous grins. But before that, let's take care of these nuisances in front of us. Seeing their malicious looks, the monsters on the island immediately became alert. Orvis pulled out his weapon and charged towards the group of monsters, and the others also used their psychic abilities. Since we can't use the gravity missile to wipe out these beasts, let's warm up here first. The scene shifts to Deathlark Peak. At this time, Joji, looking at me, was utterly astonished. The strength this dragon has shown must be S-grade. Even if Mr. Mu and I combined forces, we couldn't withstand that beam. Then he shouted to me, do you believe us now? If we don't stop those people, more missiles will come. Hearing this, I jumped down to the ground, approached them, and said, we'll trust you this time. Remember, this is our island. You'd better behave yourselves. After that, I turned to Deathlark and said, Bird Sister, take us to the area with the red smoke. But just then, Baze approached Ancient Ape. Since everyone has elected you as the Queen of Abyss Island, you and Thunder Dragon should handle this matter. Hearing this, Ancient Ape immediately agreed, but I loudly questioned, aren't you coming with us? Seeing this, Deathlark immediately scolded me. Lord Baze has condescended to descend the mountain with with us to deal with the king of the dead rotten reptiles, which was a great honor already. This trivial matter does not require Lord Baze's involvement. Baze then seriously looked at me. Thunder Dragon, these intruders are human beings. They are your own kind. Are you planning to help humans, or the monsters of Abyss Island? Baze asked seriously. Hearing this, I was somewhat displeased. Does Lord Baze still not trust me now? I am a monster, and I will help ancient Abyss Island. Any intruders with ill intentions, I will tear them to shreds. Hearing my words, Baze smiled knowingly. With your words, I am reassured. Go ahead and do it. After Baze left, Deathlark immediately led us toward the direction of the red smoke. Let's go meet those bastards. Watching us leave in a flurry, Joji was dumbfounded. They really are a bunch of simple-minded monsters, just leaving us here like this. Mr. Mu chuckled. They just think we two can't cause much trouble, and besides, I've helped them before. That Thunder Dragon remembers this favor. Then, Mr. Mu led Joji deeper into Abyss Island. Let's go. Young master, I'll take you to the entrance of the secret realm. Although we won't harm Abyss Island, we still need to complete the tasks assigned from above. Meanwhile, among the monster group, White Wolf was struck by a human and spat blood as he fell. Just as the human was about to deal the final blow, a furious roar was heard. Suddenly, Bear appeared and charged at the human. His bear paw swiped at the human, but was easily dodged. Bear roared again and charged at the human. Dare to cause trouble on Queen Ancient Ape's territory. I'll slap you to death. His swipe was again easily dodged. The man with a beard smiled derisively. This giant bear has decent attack power, barely on par with a C-grade psychic. But in front of a B-grade psychic, he's just a little brother. After saying this, the bearded man punched Bear, who was too large to dodge in time and was hit directly, blood oozing from its face. As he was adjusting his stance to attack again, suddenly a blade shadow sliced across his neck, decapitating him instantly. Orvis, holding a giant sword, stood beside Bear's corpse and sneered, playing around. Hurry up and clean up these monsters. It turned out this guy had no sense of honor and actually launched a sneak attack on Bear. White Wolf let out a painful cry upon seeing this. Just as he was about to rush into fight, the bearded man swung his fist at White Wolf again, and White Wolf clearly couldn't dodge. Wolf, now it's your turn. Suddenly, a gold slash flashed by, and the bearded man's body was sliced in half, meeting his end. The human psychics were instantly shocked. When they realized who had unleashed the blade shadow, they were even more astonished. Wolverine landed, grim-faced, staring at them intently. At that moment, several shadows descended from the sky, and looking up, they were startled again. Giant wolves holding great swords, giant birds helping monsters to fly up into the air. How could they be so smart and no teamwork? Seeing the monster corpses all over the ground, I fell into deep self-reproach. These are all monsters gathered to help me deal with the king of the dead rotten reptiles. If I hadn't asked Little Tangerine to summon them, they wouldn't have clustered here like this. But when Ancient Ape and I saw Bear's tragic death, we were instantly filled with extreme rage, our eyes bloodshot. Damned humans, you've destroyed my comrades of Abyss Island, and today not one of you will leave alive. Hearing this, the human psychics looked at me in terror. This monster can actually speak, and his aura is so strong. At that moment, several drones suddenly flew in, their mounted Gatling guns instantly aimed at us, spraying bullets wildly. Although it didn't cause us much harm, the constant barrage was quite infuriating. I saw Wolverine make a gold slash, instantly splitting one drone in half. Deathlark used a whirlwind to directly destroy another. Simple, brutal, and clean. The last drone was smashed to bits by our brute force, leaving the psychics utterly stunned. A giant wolf wielding a sword, small whirlwinds in the air. Are these really monsters? After calming down slightly, the bald man said to Orvis, "You think monsters can talk, use weapons, and possess wind abilities? These guys are likely beast-type psychics who can transform into monsters." Hearing this, Orvis frowned. I've never seen such psychics. Maybe they are some kind of mutant. Meanwhile, on the warship at sea, everyone stared in shock at the footage from the drones. Damn it, what are those things? One soldier exclaimed angrily. Lester also stared seriously at the screen. Who has seen a monster that can use a sword and wind abilities? At that moment, the man in black calmly said, "Could they be beast-type psychics?" Just then, the crew responsible for monitoring the life signs of the landing team shouted, "Not good. Lord Lester, Hans's life signs have vanished. He's dead." Upon hearing this, Lester's face darkened immediately. People began to murmur, did Hans get killed by those monsters? He was a B-grade psychic of the power type. Now that all three drones were destroyed, they had no idea what was happening on the island. Lester coldly ordered, "Send the second team that has already landed to rush to Orvis's location immediately, and also deploy 10 more drones for support." Meanwhile, on Abyss Island, Wolverine's body was rapidly shrinking. In the next second, he transformed into his werewolf form. He had always longed to fight humans in this form. "I've always dreamed of fighting with humans this way." Thunder Dragon, Ancient Ape, Deathlark, you don't need to lift a finger. I can handle this alone, Wolverine said confidently. Seeing Wolverine transform into a human, Orvis thought to himself, as I suspected, they can turn into humans. Although it's a bit odd, they're definitely psychics. Then Orvis spoke up. "Who are you guys? Which clan do you belong to? How did you manage to get on this island before us? However, this island has already been claimed by the Lester family, so you'd better leave quickly." Hearing this, Wolverine charged at him with his sword, scoffing, "Full of nonsense. Go to hell." As Wolverine charged towards Orvis, ready to send him packing with one strike, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Orvis, blocking Wolverine's attack. "If you want to fight the young master, you have to get past me first," the man said. Without wasting words, Wolverine swung his sword down. "If you want to die first, I'll grant your wish." Just then, Little Kun pulled up information on the psychics. Orvis, B-grade lightning type human psychic. B-grade rock type human psychic. Hester, A-grade lightning type human psychic. And the one blocking Wolverine was Geo, B-grade speed type human psychic. Seeing the new information on the panel, I asked Little Kun, "Can you now scan the levels of psychics?" Little Kun replied, "While you were fighting with Zhou and Mr. Mu, I upgraded the scanning function." Curious, I asked, "Compared to human psychics, what level are we? Also, won't Wolverine be at a disadvantage fighting in human form?" Little Kun explained, "In his monster form, Wolverine is S-grade. In human form, his strength drops to A-grade, but with his extraordinary swordsmanship, he won't be at a disadvantage." "What levels are Bird Sister, Ape Sister, and I continued. Little Kun pulled up our panel and said, "In monster form, Bird Sister is S-grade, Ape Sister is A-grade, and you are S+. But your human forms are pretty weak, probably not even reaching B-grade." Hearing this, I said defiantly, "Only someone like Wolverine would crave to fight in human form. Ape Sister is only A-grade. Seems like our regular training isn't sufficient. But what the heck is S+?" Little Kun immediately became timid. S+ means stronger than S-grade. Don't overthink it. You're like a boss with an invincible, awesome system. I responded sarcastically. "A super system? I think a joking system suits you better." Just then, Wolverine shouted loudly, breaking through Geo's defense with one strike. Geo, relying on his speed, quickly retreated, but to his surprise, Wolverine promptly followed. With another slash, Wolverine completely separated Geo's head from his body. When the warship received the news of Geo's death, the human psychics became panicked. They had been steamrolling the monsters since landing, but now, 2 B-grade psychics had died in less than a minute, and these were battle-hardened mercenaries who lived on the edge of a knife daily. "Is there really an S-grade powerful monster on the island?" someone asked nervously. At this moment, the mysterious man in black chuckled. "The stronger the monster, the more it proves that there is a secret realm on this island, and it's a high-level one." Lester darkened his face and replied, "That may be true, but it's my son who is facing these powerful monsters." He then asked the captain, "Where are the second squad and the drones now?" The captain answered, "The second squad will arrive at the battlefield in 5 minutes. 4 of the 10 drones were destroyed by lightning from outside the island, and the other 6 have just passed through the lightning zone." Upon hearing this, Lester became furious. "Damn lightning zone. Send 10 more drones over." The scene shifted to the island, where Orvis trembled in fear upon seeing Geo killed. Just then, the bald psychic Hester stepped forward and said, "Young master, leave this to me. This werewolf may only be A-grade, but his swordsmanship is skilled, and he has rich combat experience, making him difficult to deal with." He then focused his eyes, charged with lightning, staring at Wolverine. "I am Hester, an elder of the North Ploanian Lester psychic family. May I ask who you are?" Before he could finish, Wolverine charged at him, sneering, "Dead men don't deserve to know my name." Seeing this, Hester wasted no more words and threw a lightning sphere at Wolverine. The moment Wolverine's sword struck the sphere, a surge of electric power transmitted through the blade and struck Wolverine, rendering his body immobile and sending him flying. However, in the blink of an eye, he recovered and quickly regained his stance. Hester was shocked, not expecting Wolverine to shake off the paralysis effect so quickly. While he was contemplating, Wolverine leapt high again, swinging his sword down at him. Hester smugly remarked, "Your metal weapon will only increase the conduction of lightning." However, at that moment, Wolverine surprisingly bit down on his weapon. Hester looked on in disbelief. This guy is actually holding the sword with his mouth. In the next second, Wolverine unleashed his ultimate move, Gold Slash, against the lightning sphere. Upon contact with the sword energy, the sphere was split in two. The block sword energy didn't dissipate. It continued downward towards Hester, instantly spraying blood everywhere. Seeing Hester injured, Orvis and Mike charged at Wolverine simultaneously. The Deathlark immediately shot 2 gusts of wind at them. "Despicable scoundrel, how dare you ambush us?" Orvis leapt sideways, dodging Deathlark's attack, while Mike was hit directly by the wind and sent flying. With a loud boom, he crashed heavily to the ground, creating a deep pit. Mike got up, grinning at Deathlark. "Such a small gust can't hurt me. I'm a rock-type psychic with high defense." But as soon as he finished speaking, a huge shadow loomed over him, causing his eyes to pop out in fear. A pair of gigantic hands came crashing down, accompanied by a roar, "Noisy human, taste my mountain crush." With a loud boom, Mike was forced into the ground by Ancient Ape's massive hand, as humiliated as he had been arrogant moments before. After he struggled to his feet, Ancient Ape's fist smashed down again, roaring, "You were pretty arrogant just now, weren't you? Let's see if your defense is stronger or if my fist is harder." Her fists pummeled Mike like raindrops, all the while she kept shouting, "Die, die." This scene shocked me, making me think, isn't this a bit too brutal? After a while, Ancient Ape finally stopped, panting heavily. By then, Mike had completely cooled off, his stony head smashed to pieces. Ancient Ape coldly turned to the remaining 2 and said indifferently, "Now it's your turn." With that, she charged at Orvis and Hester with her fists. Meanwhile, upon receiving the news of Mike's death on the warship, Lester was completely panicked. He believed there were S-grade powerful monsters on the island and was ready to go to the island himself to save Orvis. At that moment, the mysterious man spoke. Isn't Hester with Orvis right now? He is an A-grade peak psychic about to break into S-grade. Besides, the second squad and the second batch of drones will soon arrive, so there's no need for you to worry, Mr. Lester. Calming down, Lester turned to a subordinate and said, take a few A-grade and S-grade psychics and get to the island fast on a speedboat. Lester urgently instructed a subordinate, you are an S-grade crystal psychic, better at defending against offshore thunderstorms than the rock-type Mike. Hearing this, Jing immediately responded, yes, Mr. Lester. Lester looked at the remaining two on the screen, his heart filled with urgency. Hester, you old man, you have to hold on. However, the situation for Hester on the island was not looking good. Struggling under Wolverine's fierce attacks, he was barely holding on, but in order to protect Orvis, he continued to grit his teeth. These monsters are too strong. That T-Rex hasn't even made a move, and we're almost wiped out. Hester thought, I'll hold them off. You find a chance to escape, he told Orvis, then released his power, Thunder Chains, ready to sacrifice himself to give Orvis a chance to live. Hester quickly threw two balls of lightning at Wolverine, momentarily paralyzing him with electric power. Then, he bound Wolverine's hands with chains, continuously shocking him to restrict his movement. After doing all this, Hester shouted at Orvis, run, young master. Hearing this, Orvis didn't hesitate for a second, running for his life with all his might. However, just then, Wolverine suddenly shook his head, accurately throwing the sword in his mouth. The blade struck Hester precisely, piercing through his body. At this moment, Hester's face was full of disbelief. He can still throw a sword while bound by thunder chains and being electrocuted. Watching himself fall, Hester's consciousness began to blur. With the last support down, Orvis was utterly terrified, crying out loud as he frantically fled. I don't want to die. Someone save me. Meanwhile, I quietly watched him and coldly said, you can't escape. Trying to run? Did you ask my permission? I sneered, just in time to try out my new skill on you. After speaking, I spat out a blue object, my newly acquired skill, Dragon's 9 Sons. Soon, all 9 of my sons were born. I nodded in satisfaction, then waved my hand grandly. Children, the time to prove yourselves has come. Beat him up for me. Orvis turned to see this scene, nearly scared to death. What the hell are these things? I thought we were dealing with monsters, not a horror show. Mom, I want to go home. Just then, several drones flew over. Orvis, ecstatic, waved frantically at the drones. Reinforcements have arrived. I'm saved. I'm here. I'm here. On the other side, as the news of Hester's death reached the warship, Lester stared at the screen. Just as he feared Orvis might have also been harmed, the drones found Orvis safe and sound. Simultaneously, the second squad also reached the battlefield and would join up with Orvis in a few seconds. Just as everyone breathed a sigh of relief and let down their guard, a crew member suddenly shouted in shock, look, what is that behind the young master? It's a blue T-Rex ghost army. Everyone exclaimed. Seeing the human psychic's second squad approaching, Orvis fell on the squad leader as if seeing a savior. The squad leader quickly comforted him. It's okay now, young master Orvis, you're safe. However, before he could finish his sentence, my sons charged over, their target being the squad leader holding Orvis. With a loud boom, the unprepared Orvis and the squad leader were hit directly and flung away by the explosion. Another more violent explosion completely engulfed them. As the dust settled, the crew looked in horror at the scene, finding Orvis and the squad leader dead, lying lifeless on the ground. The crew hardly had time to grieve and quickly gathered together. Sensing the ground shake, more monsters were approaching. Soon, several large monster figures appeared, surrounding them in a circle. I watched them coldly. Ape sister, more fools have come to die. Hearing my words, the psychics all widened their eyes in shock. How can there be such huge monsters that can also talk? Were they the ones who wiped out young Master Orvis and Captain Nuke? Just as I was about to wipe these humans out completely, several drones quickly flew in, surrounding us instead. Immediately, Gatling guns began firing at us, the continuous rat-a-tat holding us back for a moment. For a time, I forgot to strike the humans on the ground. Seeing this, the psychics felt they had another chance, each unleashing their skills in a furious assault. Seeing this, Deathlark let out a phoenix cry, and quickly a flock of minions flew to our aid, flapping their wings. Great Queen, we're here to help you. The psychics panicked at this sight. How can they call for more help? In the blink of an eye, Deathbird's minions had turned the drones into scrap metal. Meanwhile, back on the warship, they received news that the entire second squad was wiped out. Hearing this, Lester erupted in fury, his body covered in lightning. Orvis, my poor son, I'm going to the island to wipe out those beasts. With that, he soared out of the warship, heading for the island. He loudly ordered, Pass, Mahanda, I'm going to head to Jing's boat first. You bring the people of the Lester family and take the landing boats to meet me on the island. After giving his orders, he rushed out of the warship towards the island. As the situation grew more complex, the man in black did not dare act rashly, so he went to a dimly lit room and reported Lester's plan to go to the island to the head of the sinful sanctuary. The temple lord coldly snorted. Lester has 6 sons. With his personality, losing one son wouldn't cause such a stir. He's just using this opportunity to bring his own people to the island first to search for the secret realm. realm. Bartle, the Temple Lord, continued, I command you to join Lester now. If they kill the monsters, find the secret realm and report to me immediately. Meanwhile, in the defense thunder domain of Abyss Island, a landing craft was under constant attack from lightning. At this moment, Jing was holding up the shield, silently cursing. When will this lightning end? I'm exhausted. Just then, a bolt of lightning suddenly charged toward the landing craft, but veered at the last moment, directly drilling into the shield. Jing was about to make a move when he saw it was Lester. He asked in confusion, Lord Lester, why did you come personally? Lester's face was dark, and he coldly said, Orvis was killed by the monsters on the island. I want to personally slay those beasts. Hearing this news, everyone on the ship bowed in mourning, vowing to avenge Orvis. At that moment, Lester sensed Bartle's presence and sneered inwardly. It seems the sinful sanctuary doesn't trust me and sent him to monitor me. But it's fine. With a powerful S-class soul manipulator aiding me, those giant beasts are doomed. Lester instructed Jing, you contact Haas immediately and have them form another team to land from other directions. Hurry to find the entrance to the secret realm. Our team will seek revenge on the monsters. I want to skin those beasts alive. Soon, Bartle caught up with Jing's landing craft. Seeing Bartle, Lester frowned and said, I didn't expect the envoy of the sinful sanctuary to personally come and monitor me. Bartle smiled. I'm just here to help at the Temple Lord's command. Lester sneered, retorting, that's easy to say. You're really here to spy on me, aren't you? Bartle no longer concealed his intentions and replied candidly, you are indeed a wise man, Lord Lester. Besides the task given by the Temple Lord, I'm more interested in those 4 monsters. I'm curious whether they're beast-type psychics or intelligent giants born from the secret realm's energy. If they really are intelligent giants, I hope you can spare their lives after venting your anger, because I want to absorb their souls and turn them into my necrobehemoths. Lester was surprised. Have you mastered the spell to create necrobehemoths? Bartle smiled mysteriously. As long as I can turn those 4 giants into my undead giants, I can take revenge on the necrosanctum that expelled me. In reality, Bartle joined the sinful sanctuary to escape the pursuit of the necrosanctum. He didn't take the single S-class psychic of the sinful sanctuary seriously at all. At this point, Lester's guard relaxed, and he calmly said, I will help you obtain the monster's souls, and you will help me find the secret realm. When the time comes, we'll split whatever we gain, and we won't have to look at the sinful sanctuary's face ever again. Meanwhile, on Abyss Island, I looked at the neatly arranged bodies of human psychic in front of me, my heart tangled in conflict. Seeing the face of the king of the dead rotten reptiles earlier, I couldn't bring myself to do it. And these real humans, I can't consume them either. But if I don't devour them, I won't gain any skill points. Wouldn't that be a waste of effort? Just as I was agonizing over this, a group of bloodshot eyes monsters approached and respectfully said, fellow lords, these humans have killed so many of our monster kin, we must gnaw on their corpses and crush their bones. Seeing this, I quickly intervened. I still have use of these human corpses. Besides, they're too small to even fill the gaps in your teeth. Wolverine thought to himself upon seeing this. Lin Shen can kill his human enemies without hesitation, yet he refuses to devour their bodies, while the monsters have no psychological burden in devouring the bodies of their own kind. This must be the difference between humans and beasts. At that moment, Little Kun suddenly appeared and began talking to himself. I am truly great. I've figured this out. Hearing this, I was dumbfounded. Why do you suddenly appear? Babbling to yourself, Little Kun explained. I know you're reluctant to devour human corpses, so I specifically analyzed the method Baze used to extract the life essence of the king of the dead rotten reptiles. I can extract the life essence of human psychic just like Baze. As long as you devour these life essences, you can achieve the same effect as devouring monster flesh. Upon hearing this, I immediately exclaimed excitedly, Little Kun, you're brilliant. I absolutely love you. By the way, can Ape's sister and brother Wolf also devour these life essences to gain strength? Little Kun replied arrogantly, what are you thinking? I'm your system, so only you can see and devour the extracted life essence. I covered my mouth and snickered. Sorry then, Ape's sister, brother Wolf. These benefits are all mine, but how do I use this? Is it to be ingested or applied externally? I asked jokingly. Little Kun was speechless. Of course, it's ingested. For such a useless master like you, I'm really breaking my heart here. While I started to devour, I retorted unconvinced. You unreliable system still dare to call me useless? The system notification sounded. You have successfully devoured a B-grade rock-type human psychic life essence. Reward evolution points 150,000. I exclaimed in surprise. That's about the same evolution points as the king of the dead rotten reptiles gave. I thought these small humans would give very few points. The system notification sounded again. Congratulations on your first time devouring human psychic life essence. Acquiring the passive skill Double the Joy. All evolution points obtained from human psychic are doubled. My eyes lit up. Is it that powerful? I couldn't wait to start devouring the remaining life essences. You have successfully devoured a B-grade speed type human psychic life essence. Reward evolution points 130,000 times 2. You have successfully devoured a B-grade lightning type human psychic life essence. Reward evolution points 130,000 times 2. You have successfully devoured a B-grade firearms type human psychic life essence. Reward evolution points 140,000 40,000 times 2. You have successfully devoured an A-grade lightning-type human psychic life essence, earning the special skill reward, Thorn Thunder Spikes. This is an enhanced version of the Thorn Spikes, adding lightning properties that release lightning while piercing enemies, increasing damage and causing temporary paralysis. Hearing the skill description, my eyes instantly sparkled with little stars. Increase damage and paralyze enemies? This skill is simply perfect. Finally, a new skill exploded, I excitedly thought. After devouring all the life essences, I looked around at the monster crowd and said, 2 squads of human psychics have fallen here. They definitely won't let this go. I don't even know how many psychics are still on that warship. So, I said to Wolverine, have the monsters hurry back to their territories. It's not safe for everyone to be together. Wolverine nodded and said, we don't know if there are psychics lurking elsewhere. For safety's sake, my clansmen and I will escort everyone back. I said to the Deathlark, have all your clansmen scout in the air to see if there are any traces of other psychics. If you find human psychics, do not attack. Notify me immediately. At that moment, Ancient Ape rushed over hurriedly. Dragon brother, what about me? What's my task? Hearing this, I instantly facepalmed. You are now the Queen of Abyss Island. These tasks should have been assigned by you. Forget it. Let me help you out one more time. I sighed. Let's bury the bodies of these guys first, then search around this area. Ancient Ape, hearing this, immediately made an okay gesture, starting to clean up the psychic bodies like picking up spicy strips. I looked towards the direction of the sea and declared loudly, everyone has just gone through a big battle with the King of the Dead Rotten Reptiles, and we still don't know how many human psychics we will face next. After going back, make sure to recover your strength and be ready to fight at any moment. I want these human psychics to understand that Abyss Island is not a place where they can just come and go as they please.